Is that your wife up there, that picture?
Uh-huh.
All right, now there's Raymond. Now, which boy is that right there in the uniform on the wall next to her? Which one? That's right there. Which one boy is that?
That's David Jr.
David, yeah. Now, see, that's
the second boy.
yeah. Now, that's the one. I was between him and the oldest. That's what I was between in school.
Now, Raymond, after he was a widower for about 5 years, he married a woman that lived in Vienna, Austria.
Yeah, you were telling me about that.
Was a widow for about 5 years.
Yeah.
Her daughter was in Raymond's French class up in Illinois years ago.
I goodness, yeah. Say, what I thought we'd do is to give this is Molly.
Instead of her coming over here, he went over there.
Yeah.
She had to probably still travel. Has a traveling job.
Oh,
Canada, United States,
gosh.
South America,
all over the world, then.
Australia.
Gosh. That'd be. What I thought we'd do is,
all over the world.
Yeah. What I'd like to ask you is.
And Raymond goes with her quite a bit.
No, that'd be good. That'd be a good deal.
He always liked to travel.
Yeah.
He's been to Japan and Europe, of course. But this girl was from Vienna, Austria, and years later he met the mother, and there was they got a bunch together there in Europe to go to visit the pyramids in Africa, and it's cheaper when you go to a bunch.
Oh yeah, sure.
So Raymond got in that bunch, and so did
this woman that he.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good coincidence, isn't it?
Yeah, they knew each other for quite a while before they got married. Well, I guess a year or so.
Yeah.
But Raymond was a French teacher, and her daughter was in Illinois in Raymond's French class.
Yeah, so Raymond and I had French together at SMS.
Oh.
And there's Richard Payne was the teacher.
You told me that before, didn't you?
Yeah. Well, we better get on.
Richard Payne was the teacher?
Yeah. In fact, they only had one French teacher then. See, now they got a whole slew of them, you know.
That place is kind of grown.
19,400. Isn't that?
That's grown a little, hasn't it?
Just a little bit. What I thought we'd do here, I'd just like to ask you to kind of start it off from the first, so she'll be able to get it. When did you first know there was going to be a folk festival? When did you first? How did you hear about the tryouts? That there was going to be a national folk festival in St. Louis, and that they were going to have tryouts in the Ozarks. How did you hear about that? Do you remember? Was it a newspaper or?
Well, May Kennedy McCord. You ever hear of May Kennedy McCord?
Oh goodness, yeah, I knew who she was. I knew her, but she didn't know me. But I knew her, sure.
Well, I knew
her. Yeah.
I knew her, and I heard on the news that there was going to be some tryouts at the American Legion home. For the National Folk Festival. And I was working for the electrical equipment company. That was in the early 30s. We were just working part-time then.
34, wasn't it, probably?
We just worked part-time.
Yeah.
We worked less than 40 hours. I mean, we just worked part-time.
Yeah.
So I came over to the American Legion home, and I think I sang the House Carpenter. I believe I did. Anyhow, they picked me as one.
Did you sing for just May Kennedy McCord, or were there some others there?
No, it was Sarah Gertrude Knopf.
She was down here, okay.
She was down here. They had a regional festival here.
Yeah.
I guess you could say, but first they had tryouts. I mean, I think that was tryouts at the American Legion.
Yeah, I think it was.
I remember. And then I think the first National Folk Festival was in St. Louis.
It was, yeah. Well, then
my older sister lived in St. Louis.
Oh yeah, okay. Now, did you try out by yourself, or did your dad? Did your dad didn't go with you, did he? On this folk fest, did he
No.
try out? He didn't go with this.
No,
Okay. Was he living here in Springfield, or was he still living down in Taney County, or Stone County? I mean.
no, I was born and raised in Springfield.
Okay, so he was here then, yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Now he was a groceryman
Uh-huh.
in Springfield since before I was born.
Mm-hmm.
I was born in Springfield.
Yeah. Okay. And what about? Were there any
My
others?
older sister was, I think she was born in Stone County, and I was
Uh-huh.
born up here.
He moved up here. Now, were there others trying out at the same time you were, or were you the only one that there were others there too?
Yeah.
You remember who some of them were that tried out that day, or?
Well, I think the Wilsons.
Yeah, Slim and Aunt Martha and all those.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And you see, Slim's got a sister named Martha Hallworth,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
and another one named Cassie Acker.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
You know everybody?
Well, I know who they say. Well, I've lived here all my life. How could you not know the Wilsons? I mean, you know, we grew up listening to the KWTO and all that.
Junior Hallworth,
Yeah.
he's a nephew, of
Yeah.
course,
Mm-hmm.
of Slim's.
Yeah. Well, then they.
So
yeah.
when they had the first National Folk Festival in St. Louis, if I remember correctly, they built this new
Field
auditorium, and it wasn't completely finished.
Yeah. Wait, before we
Hey,
get.
it wasn't completely finished, and it's a block square, brother.
Yeah, I've been there before. Before we get to that, though, first let me stay in Springfield here first now. And they had the tryouts. Then did they notify you? Or I see, I've got. Remember those newspaper articles I brought you? Didn't you read through those?
Yeah.
I think you may still. Yeah, there they are.
Yeah.
Okay. But now, did you? They gave the winners then, didn't they? Did they have a lot of people try out? You remember if there was quite a few that day you were there, or?
Well, I think they came up from all around. I think there was some from Arkansas.
There were. I was sure. I don't remember who they.
And from all around, from out of town.
Well, did they have a?
See, from this region.
Yeah. Did they had the tryouts and everything? Then after, did those just last one day, and then they? Okay. And then they selected them, and then they had a banquet, I know. Did they have a show then, down at the?
I don't remember any show.
At the Legion Home, it was just the tryouts, and you didn't play before an audience.
Just the tryouts.
Okay. Was there Hammer Dulcimer? Who was besides the singers? You were a singer, and the Wilson family, and the Danoons. Were they there? You remember the Danoons?
Oh yes.
Big Jim Danoon, his son, wasn't it? Also.
Oh, I knew the whole family.
Yeah. Were they in on
I knew
this?
them.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Weren't they part of it too? Didn't they go to end up?
They might have.
Yeah. That's been a long time ago. I'm asking you to really think hard. That's 55 years ago.
Yeah, but my mind was on my older sister lived in St. Louis. And there's all the expenses paid. And
yeah.
That was
well, now did you?
And I was just working part time anyhow.
Yeah, that was a good thing, isn't it?
See, the electrical equipment company, I've been told, is the oldest electrical shop that does one in the state of Missouri.
Yeah. Well, now didn't
and Jesse Coon. Oh, it was a corporation. I think Homer T. Ford was part of it in the beginning.
Ford Electric.
Yeah, and then later on he separated and he put his own shop in on the east side of South Street, and then later on he moved it down on McDaniel.
Yeah, that's where I remember. It's on McDaniel Street, there, right where the Union National Parking Garage is now. McDaniel Robertson, he was in that block right there.
When I went to work there, it was Jesse Coon and was president, and Walter Layton was vice president. He had a brother that was an official over at the Union National Bank.
Yeah. Oh yeah, sure. I remember that name.
Let's see.
Bank. Walter Coon, was it?
Yeah, I believe it was.
Yeah, it's Walter Coon.
Yeah, you know, I never did meet him though.
Yeah, I just knew his name, of course, you know. Well, you met Sarah Gertrude Knott then, didn't you?
Oh yes.
Yeah, she was a pretty woman. I saw her many years later. I saw her 10 years ago at Worth Traffic.
She's getting along.
I think she's deceased now. I think she's really be up there if she wasn't. But see, when I saw her at Wolf Trap 10 years ago, she was
older
elderly.
than me. I was pretty.
Yeah.
I think
Oh
I
yeah.
was-
She was 15 years older, I bet, than you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well then, what about Ransford? What about Bascom
Bascom
Lunsford?
Lamar
Lunsford. You met him too, didn't you?
from Charlotte, North Carolina.
Now she brought him here to help with the selection, didn't she?
Oh, I believe she did. Yes,
Yeah.
I believe she did.
Uh-huh. And so he was, of course, he was known all over the country as an expert on balladry and everything.
Yeah.
In that part. And you know, there's a picture in the paper of you singing. In fact, I'm going to take that photograph, and I'm going to take some of those others. I don't know how they'll do it. I'm going to, for this girl's talk, I'm going to blow those up, so she can have those to kind of show people as she gives the talk. You know, and there's that one of you on the front, on a porch sitting there singing. You know, I gave you a little mounted copy of that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I may not be able to do it because when I blow them up, they may distort. You know, pull apart too much.
I used to make enlargements and copies.
So I always have to.
I haven't done it for a long time.
I'll have to see how that works. But
you still do that?
Oh yeah, we're in this is our 60th year in business. Yeah, we're making color copies now.
Oh
too.
yeah, you're in business.
Yeah.
Sure. Now I remember.
Yeah. Well, what about Vance Randolph? Is that when you met Vance Randolph? Did you meet him then during this, or did you meet him later? Because it was 2 years later he came in this room over here and recorded you and your father. That's in 36. But did you meet him in 34? I know he was kind of in on this.
Well, I guess he's the one that broke down the tape recorder.
Well, they had a big wire. They had those big units, yeah. But did you meet him at that time? Do you remember? Or well, it's kind of hard to remember. I know this is.
I don't remember.
Yeah. Well, then they had. Did you go?
My memory's been slipping the last year.
Well, it's still doing good. Well, did you go to? I know. Then after they selected the winners, and they considered that the Ozarks Folk Festival, didn't they? Didn't they kind of?
Yeah, this whole Ozark region.
Yeah.
The whole region. There was people here from Arkansas.
Well,
that's over the state line.
And around Missouri here too. I know.
Yeah, and west and east and.
Well, now there's a Hillcroft organization. Do you?
Don't know anything about them.
Yeah, that was a kind of a folklore group that studied. But that's what about after they selected him?
Sarah Gertrude Knott. I guess she was financed by the government, wasn't she?
And she was. I think she had some money too of her own that she kind of promoted in it, from what I've always understood. I think she was kind of wealthy and kind of a philanthropist. That she kind of.
Did she live in St. Louis?
Yes. She lived in St. Louis.
My older sister lived in St. Louis.
Well, then they
had a. I think they had a regional folk festival in St. Louis.
Also, didn't they? Because this was a national. Wasn't this a national folk festival? They called it national.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was.
Well, did you go?
It was the first. It was the first national folk festival.
After the winners were picked and everything, then they had a banquet over here at the Kentwood Arms. Did you go to that banquet? It's where you remember who John T. Woodruff is, and Gideon, the mayor, and some of those people that were the Chamber of Commerce people. Do you remember anything about those people?
I don't remember. I remember
them.
They
were kind of upset, with this Ozark stuff. They didn't want this old hillbilly stuff going up to St. Louis.
They didn't know a blasted thing about it.
No, I know it.
They didn't know a blasted thing about it.
They thought it hurt business. Now they give away an honorary hillbilly award. That's what always strikes me as funny. Once they started making the money, they liked it. But
they didn't know a blasted thing about it if they didn't like it.
But it upset a lot of people. I know. They upset a lot of people.
I don't know why, because before radio came along, before automobiles came along, families in the wintertime, they'd sit around the stove or the fireplace and get acquainted with each other.
Sure.
And that was a better life than we've got today. These automobiles take them away from home. And
that's right. True.
They don't.
Nope.
They don't have a chance to learn family history.
That's right. You're exactly right. I think it's kind of, hopefully, from what I see, there's more young people kind of coming back to it. And let's just keep our fingers crossed that way out stuff is ending. And I don't know.
But with the automobiles and theaters, and if you live in town,
right,
people don't get acquainted.
Well, families broken up. The family's disappearing. That's what's bad. That's what's a sad thing.
They don't have an opportunity to learn family history. I'll tell you something interesting. my wife's has a couple of tintypes that was on her mother's side.
Uh-huh.
It was made to, excuse me, I'm going to have to sneeze.
Go ahead. Good guy.
Those were, there's one of the Earl and one of his lady.
Mm-hmm.
And boy, were they dressed up fine.
Yeah.
And there were 10 types. I'd say they were about 5 or 7, but they had a great,
those are unusual.
but a great big
Mm-hmm.
wood frame that was
Yeah.
deep.
Uh-huh.
And one of the Earl was on a separate frame, and his lady was a separate frame, and she's all dressed up in her finery.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
And I think they were stationed. I think they were from Kilkenny County, Ireland,
Mm-hmm.
and they were stationed over in Europe. I was trying to remember the name of the place where they were. It's a big town on the north side of the Mediterranean, and the Black Plague, the bubonic plague broke out.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it was killing people.
Yeah.
A big percentage.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Over there, and they weren't allowed to come back to England because they didn't want the plague to spread.
Mm-hmm.
But they had a pair of twins, babies,
Yeah.
and the old nurse smuggled them out to the ship and took them back to and they were raised on the family estate in Kilkenny County,
Wow.
Ireland.
And survived all that then.
Yeah, and the oldest one inherits the estate, but they were raised on this family estate
Mm-hmm.
in Kilkenny County, Ireland, and that's on my wife's side of the family. And so the oldest twin inherited the estate, and then the younger twin, after he got grown, he came to Canada, and then he came to the United States,
Mm-hmm. And down in
and then he married a woman in the United States. I think their name was Power, the Earl.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well, that's nice.
they had one child, and that was my wife's mother.
Uh-huh. Well, goodness gracious. Well, your children know these things, so I think your children probably. Of course, now what's the boy that still lives here? Is it David? Or?
Saw him over Dillon's this afternoon.
Wow.
I hadn't seen him for a year or two.
Oh my goodness.
I think that's Robert's oldest boy.
Yeah.
He's
Uh-huh. Well, what then after
he lives
this,
over on I believe he lives over on Lawrence Street,
Uh-huh.
East Lawrence.
I don't want to keep you up too late here because you've had a full day's work.
No,
I just worked a half a day today, so.
Oh, I'm resting now. Oh, you?
Well, let's get back to the now. After
I had a couple of glasses of milk, so I'm all
Okay.
right for now.
so after you were selected then, and then didn't you tell me then they got a
They were,
bus?
yeah. I think the bus held. I believe they held about 50 or 52
Uh-huh.
then, and we all rode the bus up.
It's 1934.
Was that when it was?
1934.
How did you know?
It's in the newspaper articles and everything.
Yeah.
May. It's in
And
May.
where did you get the newspaper article?
Lucille Morris Upton.
Bless her heart. Is
Yeah.
she still alive?
I saw her yesterday, and
Bless her heart.
she's out at Primrose Manor, and she looks good. She's lost all the weight, of course, and everything. She looks good, and she smiles, and she's sitting there.
She
She'll
had
visit
this
with you.
big house over in the south part of town. Is she still
She's
have
on,
that?
yeah, on Kimbrough. No, it's not a big house now. She has a small rock house on Kimbrough, but she isn't living there now. She's in Primrose Manor, the nursing home.
Yeah.
And she'll smile and she'll talk to you, but she doesn't remember anything. She might have remembered who I was vaguely, but
she was a columnist. I remember.
One of our real newspaper people.
Even did some electrical work at her house.
Yeah, she was a good newspaper woman. She was a good.
Oh yeah.
She covered all this. See, all this folk festival stuff.
Yeah.
Well, then you had the bus. There was how many of you went on the bus? Do you remember? You told me one time. You thought you remembered.
It was either
full, wasn't it?
It was either 50 or 52.
Yeah, you told me it was a full bus.
Yeah. That it was just for that purpose.
Yeah,
everyone on there.
Chartered bus, in other words.
Yeah, it was a chartered bus.
And so you went up there and you
stayed.
It
was either 50 or 52.
Yeah. Did you stay in a hotel there then? I'm sure you did. Down by the Kiel Auditorium, probably did.
I think I stayed with my sister.
Oh, that's right. You would have stayed with her. Yeah, because you were telling me that you stayed with your sister, and then didn't she drive up and bring you to something?
She brought me to the theater.
To the Kiel Auditorium there. Yeah. Where the festival was being held.
Yeah.
Well, what did they have they had an Ozarks Day, I think I saw some reference to it, and did you all perform the same day? How many days were you up there? 2 or 3 days, or?
Don't remember.
You didn't go up one day and back the next, though. Didn't you stay 2 or 3 days, probably? Oh, well. The newspaper stuff will have that.
I don't think we stayed too long.
No. Did you see other entertainers from around the country there while you were there? I haven't seen any reference to that. I just wondered if you were there only for the Ozarks entertainment. If that's all they had.
I just don't remember.
Oh, well, that's all right.
Too much about it.
Yeah. But did you tell me you drove up in your car?
I remember that they had.
This will kind of jog my memory too here. I was going to ask about some of the people that
this auditorium. Listen, they had 4 stages: a north one, a south one, an east one, and a west one, and fireproof curtains, and they had 4 separate auditoriums. And they could
run it 4 different things.
They could have them separated, or they could lift all those fireproof curtains and have a.
That was really something, wasn't it?
That was what I was told.
Did they have a big crowd? You remember if there was a pretty big crowd, or you sang on stage, didn't you? Did you sing on stage?
Oh yes.
Yeah, you sang it.
I think it was full.
What? You remember what you sang?
I probably sang the House Carpenter.
I was trying to. I was going through here and just looking at some of the other people that went with you. You remember this Pauline McCullough from down at Blue Eye, Missouri, that played the banjo? Do you remember her?
Yes.
She's a pretty girl.
Yeah. Where was she from? Blue Eye?
Blue Eye, Missouri.
You ever been to Blue Eye?
Oh, yeah.
Lots of times.
Well, oh, yeah, I'm going through there.
The state line goes through
right down in the middle.
But the post office is on the Missouri side.
Yeah.
See, my father was born and raised in Stone County.
Yeah, I knew that.
And my older sister.
That's you.
Yeah. Hey, my older sister was born in Stone County. And then they moved up here, and I was born up here. And my father had 2 sets of twins, and my older sister was a twin. The first set of twins died when they were babies. And my sister's twin died when it was a baby, and she survived, and they moved to Springfield, and I was born here. And my mother died when I was 2 years old.
Well, all that stuff that happened with the Chamber of Commerce, that finally kind of died down, didn't it? Because the newspaper was really on the side of the Ozarks people rather than the city, wasn't it? I mean, from what I read in some of these articles, Lucille Morris, Upton, and some of those, thought, and of course they were all up. Do you remember Emma Galbraith? She was part of it, and I was trying to think. May Kennedy McCord. Did you know her before this folk festival?
Yeah.
Because she was from Stone County. I thought probably your dad might have known her, possibly, too. Your grandfather.
Oh yeah, my dad knew her.
Yeah.
Hey, can I tell you a little bit of family history?
Yeah. Well, briefly, yeah, because I don't want to keep you up too long here. About the Rice family, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know pretty much of it. You told me quite a bit about it.
My grandfather was born and raised in Springfield, Massachusetts, and his name was David Rice. No middle name or initial. So I didn't have any middle name or initial. And he had a younger brother named William Morris Rice. and then the youngest was Frank Andrews, Captain Frank Andrews. Okay, so my grandfather, they sent him to West Point, so naturally he became a military man. So then, eventually he was sent to Texas, and he had a bunch of men under him. Colonel David Rice. There's a Mexican general who had named Santa Anna. Now he was there quite a while. He was there quite a while. It's so big, you know. There's plenty of room.
Oh yeah.
And there was a few settlements. Oh yes, I don't know if I told you, but more to tell you again. The first thing in Houston, Texas, the very beginning was a general store. It's Dad, you had to go down a grade to get to it. They always had this store where the water was. The horses have to have water, don't they?
Yeah.
And the people have to have water. I told that to a fellow, and he just seems to call me a liar. He says, there's not any hills.
Oh.
But there's low places where they've got rivers, haven't they?
Yeah.
Okay, William M. This Santa Anna and this Mexican general and his bunch, and Colonel David Rice and his bunch, they didn't have communication.
Yeah.
They'd send couriers, I guess.
Runners.
But anyway, they came together down there somewhere in Texas, and they had a great big battle. That was the Battle of San Jacinto. You knew that?
Yeah, I've been to the battlefield.
Well, I've been to Dallas. And after, now, I could look up the dates of the Battle of San Jacinto, but the Americans won the battle, and they had some prisoners, and they had Santa Anna captured too, and they had some others there. Of course, they didn't hold them forever, but the way the communications were. And
it was about 1836 is when that all happened.
Texas is so big, you know, it's a long way from one place to another. Anyhow, after Texas was declared a U.S. territory, William M. Rice, that was my dad's younger brother, was operating his second store in the Springfield, Massachusetts area. And after Texas was declared a U.S. territory, then here came the settlers.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much of a time gap there was, but I can look it up. You call me sometime and I'll look it up.
Okay.
I can look up. Boy, that's sure a good one. It'll probably have the date of the Battle of San Jacinto.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it would.
Let's see.
A turning point in our country's history.
Anyhow, William M. Rice, so after the Texas declared the U.S. territory, William M. Rice, my grandfather's younger brother, sold his second store in the Springfield, Massachusetts area. And he came down and bought in with the old man at wheel lock.
Yeah.
Told you that before, didn't I? And after Texas declared the territory, here came the settlers. Oh, here came the settlers afterwards. And the people would, you know, they had to travel in groups for their protection. There was roving bands of Indians, there was roving bands of Mexicans, and there's roving bands of bushwhackers. And it's dangerous to travel by yourself unless you had a fast horse and a lot of firepower. Now my Colonel David Rice, he traveled by himself, but he had a real good horse, and he had he didn't have a handgun. So William M. Rice bought him with the old man at Wheelock, and the people in the settlement would travel in a group to Houston and buy seeds and supplies and tools, anything they could, and charge it in the spring. And after harvest, our Colonel David Rice would visit the settlements and collect from all those people.
Yeah.
And he was safer without a handgun if he was in a settlement you know,
Yeah.
a man collecting in a settlement, you know.
Mm-hmm.
He'd always leave well before dark.
Yeah.
And on his way out of town, he'd watch someone wouldn't jump out from behind a bush or a building. And if you went in a building where, I've probably told you all this, it won't hurt to tell you again, but while he was in a settlement, he'd always leave in a different direction from what he intended to travel to go to the next settlement. And if he went into a room where there's a bunch of men, he did not have a handgun. If he had a handgun, why, the collector in town, you know, the news spread like wildfire.
Oh, yeah.
Collector in town couldn't keep that a secret to save your life. He was safer without a handgun. Because if you shot an unarmed man, if you did, two or three of them could get together in there, and one would pick a fuss with him, and
provoke a fight with him now, huh?
provoke a fight, and then one of the others maybe would shoot him. The two or three of them get together, see.
Yeah.
Then when it was all over, the money would be missing. But if you shot an unarmed man, they'd take you out right then,
Yeah.
and string you up on the nearest limb right then. Yeah. They wouldn't wait.
Yeah. Well, that's frontier justice. That was just, they didn't have time to do that.
And they knew it.
Uh-huh.
And that's why he didn't carry a handgun when he went in. Now, I've probably told you that before.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's all right.
Now that's the way it was.
You know so much detail on these stories. Where did you hear these stories? From your dad?
My father told me.
And he heard them from
Colonel David Rice.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. When the Civil War broke out, Colonel David Rice was outspoken. And things got... Oh, he helped William M. Rice make his money, you know.
Yeah.
Collecting from these settlements. But when the Civil War broke out, Colonel David Rice, he was outspoken. So, things got pretty hot for him, so he had to come north. And when they traveled with there's other people that came north too. They traveled with their wagons and belongings, and there was armed people along with horseback. And 3 days after he left, there was a fellow that told that he's going to overtake Colonel David Rice and kill him. So I think he had a couple of guys to go with him. But anyway, I think they were up as far as, that was 3 days after Colonel David Rice left, but they traveled in a group. They had their belongings in the wagons, their families.
Yeah.
Families and all, and then had people on horseback that was armed to protect them. They traveled in groups for protection.
Yeah. Well, now they came.
They had to live in groups for protection, and they had to travel in groups for protection on account of these roving bands of Indians, roving bands of Mexicans, and roving bands of bushwhackers. They're outlaws, bushwhackers and outlaws.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, now they came. All right. What did he do during the war then, Colonel David Rice?
I was going to tell you.
All right.
The fellow that went to overtake him, him and the two fellows with him, they were at camp. They'd pick a good safe place to camp, and I'm sure they'd have sentries.
Pickets, yeah, they'd have people out, sentries. Yeah. Oh, sure they would, yeah.
They're traveling in groups for protection. They had armed people with them, the horseback, and they carried their belongings in the wagons. And they traveled in groups for protection. Okay, anyway, they were at camp when this fellow overtook Colonel David Rice. And, needless to say,
He survived.
he didn't kill Colonel David Rice because they had guards You know, military man had sense enough to have guards,
sure.
wouldn't he?
Oh, sure. Uh-huh.
Okay. So this fellow went back and reported that Colonel David Rice was dead.
Mm-hmm.
That was the report, and his two brothers never knew any different.
Huh.
So during the Civil War, Colonel David Rice you know, the cotton was all grown in the South.
Mm-hmm.
The North didn't have any way of getting cotton during the war. Colonel David Rice, he cruised around in the horseback. He'd ride around. He'd buy cotton and send it to Houston, and it'd be put on board of a ship in bales and marked Liverpool. That's England.
Mm-hmm.
These bales of cotton would be put on board a ship and marked Liverpool, England. Now this is history.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And this is accurate.
Mm-hmm.
Colonel David Rice roamed the cotton fields and buy the cotton and send it to Houston and be put on board. I don't know where they bailed it. I didn't hear him say whatever worked out the best. But it was put on board. There'd be a bunch of it put on board of a ship marked for Liverpool, England. But they'd unloaded at Boston.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But no one knew that but the captain.
Mm-hmm.
They'd unloaded that cotton at Boston.
Yeah. Well, then after the war, did he come to Stone County?
Oh, after the war, at the age of 60, Colonel David Rice married and raised 3 children. Benjamin Franklin, you know how they used to name him?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Benjamin Franklin Rice and Walter Scott
Yeah.
Rice. And then the third one was the girl,
Mm-hmm.
Charlotte.
Mm-hmm.
That was my Aunt Lottie.
Uh-huh. Which one was your dad? Benjamin Franklin was your dad, wasn't
Yeah,
it? Ben Rice, in other words. That's what I saw the name.
Yeah, he was the
Now
oldest.
then he came to Stone County. Yeah, is he the one that came to Stone County?
Colonel David Rice raised a family. I think that Colonel David Rice came to Stone County.
Okay, so you never found anything out about that. I always wondered that. Well then, where did your dad knew these ballads? Did he learn them from his mother, do you think, or?
He learned them. People spend a lot of time together
Sure, yeah.
around the fireplace and the firesides in the wintertime.
Mm-hmm.
And he learned them anywhere he could. He knew more.
Well, I know I've read.
I knew more of those old ballads than anyone I ever saw, and I learned every one of them from my dad.
Sure. Mm-hmm. Well then, you
long ones and short ones.
Well, when was your dad born? When was your dad born?
I'd have to look it up.
Well, I mean, roughly. When do you think he was probably born? 1870s? Probably, wasn't it?
He was after the Civil War. Colonel David Rice. He was looking. I can look.
Oh, well,
tell you
no,
what,
I just was trying to get this all brought up.
whenever the Civil War
Now.
was over, then he married
Mm-hmm.
and raised a family.
And moved into Stone County, then you think?
I think he
Yeah.
settled in Stone County.
Now, your dad's place was down McKinley Bridge, right? Wasn't it by Cyclone Mountain or something you told me one time? Or whereabouts did you tell me your dad's farm was?
Well, his farm was on the north side of White.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Down McKinley, though. What, down McKinley Ferry, wasn't it?
Is north of there.
Yeah, but I mean in that area, wasn't it?
Well, I think Kimberly was up the river a little.
Okay, all right, okay. I know you told me I was trying to get this all placed. Then he came. When did he come to Springfield? You think? Well, when were you born?
I was born in 1906, December the 21st.
Okay, so he was here by then. We know then. So what? Probably about 1900 he came to Springfield. You guess?
No, my sister was born
Okay, so
in the
he
White
came-
River country.
Okay, so right, but
And I
right
was
in that.
born up here.
Yeah, so right in that area, right in there is when he came to Springfield. Then.
I was born up here.
Okay, and so you learned all these ballads from your father.
Right.
And now.
Of an evening around the fireside.
Now we've talked about the folk festival. I don't know anything else we need to talk about that. But let's now want to move up. You're back from the folk festival in Springfield. Then how did you meet Sidney Robertson and Vance Randolph? Through making Indy McCord? Did the people, after you had the folk festival, did that create a more of an interest in Springfield or in the area about people wanting to say, hey, I can sing too, or I have my grandfather's songs I sing? Did the folk festival cause people to still be interested in their heritage of Ozarks, the ballad scene and the fiddling and all that?
Well,
in other words,
I'll tell you, there's fiddling going on for dances.
Oh, sure, yeah.
All over, everywhere.
Yeah. Were any members of your family fiddlers?
Well, my dad sawed on the fiddle a little, and I sawed on the fiddle a little.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know you played the fiddle. I never did know that.
I can play a tune on it.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that. Sometime we'll get together and do it.
Hey, and when, well, been a long time, and Hawaiian music.
That was popular, I know, in the 20s, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, before I was married, and so there's a fellow that worked with electrical equipment bought a Hawaiian guitar, and then I bought one, and I was single. I had plenty of, I never got married. I didn't even go to the girls for a long time, until I was about 21, and then I got married when I was about 22. Dad sang all those around the fireside of an evening.
Yeah.
All those ballads.
Did he live? He didn't live here, did he?
He lived in Springfield.
Yeah.
I was born and raised. I was born and raised at 1205 North Rogers.
That's what I was wondering. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I know. Is that? Let's see. Is that north of Commercial or south of Commercial Street?
You know where Center is?
Central. Yeah. I call it C. You're ahead of me. You're a few years before me. It was Central when you knew it, but it's Center. I mean, it's Center.
I'll tell you how it got changed.
Yeah. Okay.
We had a fellow from Oklahoma City that got to be mayor here, and well, when they built the railroad, the railroads follow the high ground as much as possible.
Yeah.
So they won't have to build those expensive. You know what a railroad car weighs?
I know, yes, yeah. And the bridges and everything.
All right, you get a bunch of them. So when they built the St. Louis San Francisco Railroad, you know there's high places.
Yeah.
There's high spots, but you can take a relief map that shows the streams. You can tell where the high ground is. And when they built the St. Louis to San Francisco, it was called St. Louis-San Francisco Railway. They finally shortened it to the Frisco, but it started out as the St. Louis-San Francisco Railway. So they picked the high ground between St. Louis and San Francisco as much as possible on account of the bridges, because they cost a fortune to build those things. I think one freight car weighs, it might weigh 40 tons when it's loaded. Yeah. And you get a whole train. Look how many tons is on that bridge.
Yep, a lot of it.
So that's why they build them on the high ground.
Yeah.
That's why they. But do you ever look at a relief map that shows shows the rivers and streams?
Yeah.
And anyhow, let's see. Oh, I was going to tell you. The first depot was north of Commercial Street.
Oh yeah, North Springfield.
Yeah.
That
was the first depot.
1869.
It was somewhere near Washington, but it was on the north side of Commercial. And years ago, I saw a building that I think might have been it. I think there was one on each side of Washington. You know, if you go north from Commercial, you go down a real steep hill.
Yeah. Came up that today. I came up that hill today, coming from the north side of Washington. Came under that overpass.
There's a It's a subway for the street. It goes under the tracks.
Yeah, I came that way this day.
Let's see. When they laid out the square, I guess you knew that it was named North Street, South Street, East Street, and West Street. And
just kept the South as the only one that kept it.
Yeah, the one going north went to Boonville, Missouri, and the one going east went to St. Louis, Missouri. And there's a Bible college out west, and that got to be college, changed to College Street. And South Street didn't go anywhere, so it got to keep its name.
Yeah. Well, listen, forward, so we don't stay too long. Let's get back. I want to get into this. Now, in other words, after the folk festival, I know the way the newspaper wrote it up, there was a lot of interest in the area on folk things, you know, singing and all that. So that, and then of course in the 30s, the WPA and the writers group, they called it, and that kind of stuff. And the Library of Congress sent a woman down here named Sidney Robertson, whom you met.
Oh, yes.
And I told you I got some correspondence. Correspondence from her, you know.
Yeah.
And she was with Vance Randolph. And now, did when they did Vance and May came to record, are they the ones that picked you and your father to record for the Library of Congress?
I think Sarah Gertrude Knott picked me to go to the National Folk Festival,
and then
from there on,
they went on and followed the list of people that had been there. Yeah. Well, now, was it in this room right here? Then tell me the details on that night that you recorded for them, Vance Randolph and Sidney Robertson, and did May Keenan McCord come too?
I was trying to think. Wasn't it Sidney Robertson that did the recording?
Maybe. Mm-hmm. Who came to your house in that room? It's in this room right here is where you did it.
Yeah, and I think Vance Randolph may have come with her and carried the heavy stuff.
Yeah, because those things were big and bulky then, I know. And you didn't tell me that day. Tell me about that. How you had been to a party at May's house the night before, hadn't you, or something?
I don't remember.
Yeah, you've told me before. You said
I've been to her house.
Well, I think you said you were somewhere, and they said let's go record something, and you set up this recording session to come here to your house. I think you told me that one time. And then do you remember that night when you recorded? Did you say that you stayed late? Your dad sang and sang and sang. You did too. A lot of songs. I've seen the list in the Library of Congress list. Boy, you sang a lot of songs that night. You remember any of that night when they came?
Don't remember too much about it. I remember the night.
You remember any of the stuff you sang?
Not especially.
Yeah, I've got it home. In my list of things, I've got it there.
You got the names of them?
Yeah. I'll copy that off for you sometime.
Yeah.
Kind of refresh your memory. See, here's what down.
My memory's slipping.
Well, everybody's slipping.
Yeah, but I need to write some of these down.
Yeah, you do.
My dad wrote down, supposed to have written down a lot of songs.
You told me you thought so.
But I never, and he told me it was around somewhere, yeah. So I think it's still in there.
If you ever find that, let me make a copy of it, so there can be one. I'll put it in my library, because my library someday, I don't know where it's going to go, whether it's going to go to the archives in Columbia or to the Library of Congress or what.
But he knew songs that he probably didn't get all of them.
Yeah. Oh, well, no.
He probably didn't get all of them. He knew more songs.
You know something I never had?
He knew more songs than those old ballads than anyone I ever saw in my life.
Yeah. But you know something I never...
and he sang them around the stove in wintertime.
Yeah.
Families spent time together and got acquainted with each other.
Did he know any bawdy songs? I never did.
Any what?
Any bawdy songs?
Bawdy?
Yeah. Kind of off-color songs. There used to be a lot of those. I know that I've seen... And I always wondered if, I never heard any, I've always heard reference to them, but I wondered if when a group of men were singing, if they'd ever slip in one of those. I don't remember any. You didn't know any of those, did you?
Oh, there's...
Off-color, in other words, you know. Well, they'd be tame today. I mean, by what we think of nowadays, they'd be tame, but I mean, back then they were kind of risque, you know.
It was mostly the ballads that he...
Yeah, he didn't, for some of those old ballads got kind of wild sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, this is mostly what I was wanting to ask you about, was that, and maybe between now and then, if you think anything about when Sidney Robertson was here or anything, why, because she sure remembered you. She really did. She remembered coming here that night and recording you and everything. She remembered all that. In fact, then she told me a story that you told me too.
I believe that Vance Randolph was with her, and he carried the heavy stuff in out of the car.
Now you went, after this, you went to Chicago. You went to another folk festival, didn't you?
I went to one in St. Louis was the first one, wasn't it? I went to one in Chicago, and one in Oklahoma City, and one in Dallas.
Goodness, I didn't know about all those. Now, in fact, she wrote in the story, she told me that in Chicago, you sang Casey Jones. Isn't that the one you sang? And his widow was in the audience, and there was one reference in there that he had been kind of unfaithful or something, and you changed that. You caught that knowing that she was out there. She wrote me, she said she really admired that you did that. Do you remember doing that?
There was the one verse that she didn't like, so I left it out.
That's what it was then. Okay, that's what it was. But that's good you knew that. It was a considered thing to do.
If she hadn't told me, I wouldn't have known her.
Yeah, well, that's good though that you did that. Yeah.
Casey Jones was with her.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was there.
Sing one of the ballads you like to sing. I just like to have you sing one more here.
Come all you landers who want to hear the story of a brave engineer. Casey Jones was a rounder's name. On a 6-8-wheeler, boy, he won his fame. The caller called Casey at 4:30. He kissed his wife at the station door. He mounted to the cabin with his oars in his hand, and he took his farewell trip to the promised land. Casey Jones married to the cabin. Casey Jones with his oars in his hand. Casey Jones married to the cabin, and he took his farewell trip to the promised land.
Yeah. But what I'm going to do now, I'll go back and I think in this article it lists some of the stuff you sang. I'll find out.
I wouldn't try to sing that without writing down the verses and getting them in
what I want you to do down at the thing here, and I'll find out what they were. So that's why I've been asking you these things. You don't need to talk much. I'm not going to worry about you.
When is that going to be?
It'll be last Friday in October. It'll be the 27th of October. I'll let you know before then so you won't forget it. And what I'd like for you to do, there's going to be 2 papers given in this session. The sessions are 90 minutes long. And so in most of the sessions we have 3 papers, 3 talks that are given. And each talk is going to be about 20 minutes, and that leaves about 10 minutes for people to ask questions of the speaker. So we're going to have 90-minute sessions. So in your session, there'll be a 20 to 30-minute talk about the 1934 Folk
There'll be
Festival.
3 20-minute sessions.
Yeah, all in the same room. One will be
That'll be in the auditorium.
Well, not a big auditorium. It'll be a big room. You're going to be in a classroom, probably a classroom.
And then where's that going to be?
School of the Ozarks.
Yeah.
Okay. And
now, what town?
South of Branson.
Just south of
I'll have
Branson.
somebody get you there and get you back home. Don't worry about any of that. And your meals will be taken care of too.
Okay.
Now, what I want you to do is Molly Plate is my cousin. She's a young teacher out here at Shady Dale. She's going to give the talk on the 1934 Folk Festival, and she'll talk more about the Ozarks and the Chamber of Commerce dinner, where the banquet they had the night after they'd selected the winners, and everybody was to go to St. Louis. She'll talk about that.
Okay.
Then there'll be another talk. Will be Bill McNeil, who's the folklorist down at Mountain View, and he's going to talk on the collecting that Vance Randolph and Sidney Robertson did in the Ozarks in 1936.
Well, you've got a good memory.
Okay, then the third part of it is you.
If you write all that stuff down.
All right, what I'm going to want you to do,
and give me a copy of it.
what I want you to do is,
because my memory is slipping.
that's all right, you'll know the song, and I'll give you time so you can kind of brush up if you need to. I want you to sing, you'll have 20 minutes if you want to. I want you to sing some of the songs you sang at the 1934 Folk Festival, or even any of those others afterwards, whatever you want to sing, the House Carpenter, things like that. Then, the second part of your part, sing a couple of the songs that you sang for Vance and Sidney Robertson. Because you have such a pretty voice, everybody's going to be pleased in listening to that.
If you give me
I'll get the list.
A list of songs.
I'll make the list of songs, and I'll give you, and you don't need to be that accurate. What you really want to do is just pick what you are comfortable with.
Well, pick something that's not too long and...
Yeah, you don't want to get too long because you're going to have an audience. We'll have been sitting anyways for an hour, see, and so...
Pick something that's a several life.
Okay, that's all right. Okay,
That thing till I could make it talk. I can
Yeah.
play. I've never.
Think you can still play one?
I've never seen anyone that I thought could play any better than I did. I played. Now it's nicer if you have a straight guitar to play with you.
Yeah.
But you have to practice them.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. Down at a pawn shop a couple of months ago, I bought a lap steel, which is the same thing, a little about this long. That how about was it about 2 foot long or not even that long? About 18
Like
inches.
Hawaiian guitar.
Your little Hawaiian guitar.
Oh, they're just, you just take a standard guitar and put a nut on it to raise the strings, so you can.
You made a dobro out of it, in other words. Kind of like a dobro is what they call. I know what you mean.
I don't. The dobro
They came along
is
later.
the name that some. You
That's
took a straight guitar and you put a nut
raise the strings.
to raise the strings,
Yeah.
so your steel bar would click on the frets.
Yeah, yeah. Well, listen, you're tired. I'm gonna have to
And
let
I
you.
could play a Hawaiian guitar
Yeah, I'm gonna let
better
you.
than anyone that I ever knew around.
Before I go,
I could make it talk,
I'm trying to
and
think.
you never really forget that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
as long as you still have control.
You know who's going to be in charge of your session? The moderator, in other words, Charles Wood.
Oh.
Remember him when we went down to my place of business that time, and the three of us sat up there?
Oh, yeah.
The guy from Tennessee.
Yeah.
He's going to be the moderator, so he already knows you, so that'll be good.
Yeah, I remember.
In fact, what I'm going to tell him to do.
That was on the upstairs
in my
over
business.
on Robertson.
My business, yeah, my business. Maybe have you sing like one song you sang in St. Louis and one song you sing, but then have you sing one or two that you just want to sing.
List of songs.
I'll get it.
That'd help
I'll
me.
get it to you. I'll get it to you. Of the ones I have noted, I mean, that I know about.
See, and I'll have to see how many I remember.
You'll remember enough to get by this. That's right. They're going to really enjoy you. They really are. I'm just glad you're going to do it because you're.
But they. Dad never saw a guitar.
No. Oh no, they didn't.
Hey, Dad's born and raised in Stone County. He never saw any money. The money wasn't circulating.
Yeah, they bartered, didn't they, with produce?
They traded and they worked it out.
Yeah.
They traded and they worked it out. There wasn't any money circulating in Stone County when Dad was raised down.
Do you have any relatives that live down in there still, or did everybody come up here? Or?
They're scattered out.
Yeah, scattered all over down there.
Well, my Uncle Bert, that's my dad's younger brother, he had a post office and a general store at Marmaris.
Well, listen, I'm going to have to let you get
And,
some rest now. You've worked all day, and
right.
it's getting late here.
And my dad was running the neighborhood grocery store since before I was born. People used to need ice boxes. The housewife would come to the store in the afternoon if she wanted meat for supper, and get meat for supper and put it on the bill. Almost everybody ran a bill.
Yeah.
And husband paid on payday, pay the bill.
What were...
There's grocery stores within a walking distance of every place in town because, and they didn't need.
Oh yeah, well when I was a boy they were that way. Yeah.
They didn't need ice box.
Yeah.
They'd go, they'd walk to the store, or the housewife would. Most of the women didn't work then. They were.
What was your? Did you and your dad sing together any, or did you always just kind of?
No.
Now ballad singers didn't really ever sing harmony, did they? It was pretty much a solo thing, wasn't it?
I never. Absolutely.
Yeah. Of course, that's the Ozarks. People were individuals. They all had like the fiddlers are the same way. They got their own style of playing, Each one does. Each one. So I guess each ballad singer did too. Sing one more here before I leave. Yeah, I'd like to hear you sing. Which one you could sing here? Or if you feel like it, if you're too tired.
No, I'm not too tired. I had a couple of glasses of milk.
Yeah. What was the one that Charles Wolfe was so interested in? That Pompey, Pompey. It was about Kit Carson.
Pompey Smash.
Pompey Smash. Do you remember any of that?
How'd it go?
I don't remember. I've got you singing it one time on there. Well, let me think. What's something else? I'll tell you one thing you sang to me one night was the Spanish something. Was there?
Spanish Cavalier?
Yeah, the Spanish. Do you remember that one?
The Spanish Cavalier stood in his retreat, and on his guitar played a tune dear. The music was so sweet, it oft times would repeat. The blessing of our country and you, dear. Oh, say, darling, say, when I'm far away, won't you sometimes think of me, dear? A bright sunny day will soon fade away. Remember what I say and be true, dear.
Yeah, that's a pretty one. That is pretty. That's a pretty one. But you know, I just want you to really. Oh, and something else too. While you're there on Friday.
Here's another one.
Okay, go ahead.
We met, Butcher's Boy.
Yeah.
We met again, my love, he said. We met again, said he. I'm just across from the salt, salt sea, and it's all for the love of thee. And it's all for the love of thee. Oh, I once could have married a king's daughter fair. I'm sure she'd have married me. But I have forsaken those crowns of gold, and it's all for the love of thee. And it's all for the love of thee. Oh, if you could have married a king's daughter fair, I'm sure you were to blame. For I have married a house carpenter, and I think he's a nice young man. And I think he's a nice young man. Oh, if you will leave your house carpenter and go along with me, I will take you to where the grass grows green on the banks of the sweet Willie. On the banks of the sweet Willie. Oh, if I should leave my house carpenter and go along with thee, what have you got to maintain me on, or to keep me from slavery, or to keep me from slavery? I have 3 ships all on the sea, sailing for dry land, besides 20 boatsmen on each ship that shall lie at your command. That shall lie at your command.
David just left to help his wife get in the bathtub. Okay. All right.
She picked up her sweet little babe, and kisses gave it 3, saying, stay at home, you sweet little babe, and keep your papa company, and keep your papa company. They hadn't been sailing more than 2 weeks. I'm sure it was not 3, till this fair lady began to weep, and she wept most bitterly, and she wept most bitterly. Is it for my silver and gold that you weep, or is it for my store? Or are you weeping for your house carpenter that you left on the other shore? That you left on the other shore. It is not for my house carpenter that I weep, neither is it for your store, but I'm weeping for my sweet little babe
that I never shall see anymore, that I never shall see anymore. They hadn't been a-sailing more than 3 weeks. I'm sure it was not 4, till they struck a leak in the bottom of the ship, and it sank to rise no more, and it sank to rise no more. A curse on all mankind, a curse, said she. You've forsaken me, of my house carpenter, and now you're drowning me. And now you're drowning me.
It's a sad one, isn't it? That's a sad one. Oh, I know what I was getting ready to tell you a while ago. During the day on Friday, as you come into school of the Ozarks, there's Good Memorial Center, and then on the side of it is a place called the Cummings Auditorium. It's a big auditorium. Not real big, it seats about 400 or 500 people. But all day Friday, from 10 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon, for the general public, we're going to be running live music. See, we've got 30 musical people in this organization to draw, plus the people I'm bringing in from the area.
From what in the morning?
Oh, well, we'll start at 10 o'clock and go to 4 o'clock.
10 to 4.
Yeah. So sometime during that time while you're down there, after you've done your session, if there's not a paper you want to hear something, would you go up there and maybe sing for 15 minutes on stage?
You want me to sing for 15 minutes on the stage?
Yeah.
Sing one of the ballads?
Sure.
If
you feel like it. Now here, we can do this. But I mean, just keep that in mind that I might, if you feel like it. Now, don't worry about it. We'll have plenty of people, you know. In fact, we've got too many. We'll have to probably sort out who that.
I think it'd, if I can get that list in plenty of time. So,
oh, well,
so
you're just one. You can sing the same thing you sang in one of the classrooms, see. It won't make any difference when you at the session.
I can pick something that's 15 minutes long.
I'll get you,
I'll have to spend some time.
This is blank paper. Can I borrow a piece of that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just take them both and
here.
and the paper.
David, I don't write myself notes anymore. I forget things here. So what I'm going to do is get the list of the songs
you
that I've
write
got in the Library of
left-handed, don't
Congress.
you?
Huh?
You write left-handed.
Oh yeah. Play the guitar right-handed though. See, yeah, I'd have been a great guitar player. Could have turned around, and played it the other way. But I'll make a list of the songs you sang for Charles Wolfe and myself that night. Plus, I'll get that library. I'll just copy that Library of Congress list for you. I'll make you a copy of it. And
my dad knew more songs than anyone I believe I ever saw.
You're going to be one of the hits of this whole thing, because
providing I pick a suitable song.
Well, that's fine. You pick.
It's not too long.
Yeah. See, that's something Almeda Riddle, who was the ballad singer in Arkansas, used to do. I mean, you know, I enjoy them. I like to just sit here for hours. But we can't assume that everybody out there is going to want to sit and listen to a 15-minute ballad. And that's the trouble with Almeda. She'd get started on her ballads, and she'd held them out there, and she'd lose them because they'd get tired. Now, that House Carpenter, that's perfect time. That's just right. That's not too long, and it's not too short. I think that's a very good one to do. And in fact, sing me one more before I leave if you're not worn out. I love to hear you sing. You just have such a pretty voice. Can you think of one more? And then I promise you I'll leave then, because I know you're tired.
Well, let me think a minute. Oh, I'm not too tired. I've been resting. When I get off my feet, I'm resting later.
Well, yeah.
And I had 2 glasses of milk already.
Yeah, well, that's good.
Let's see.
I know it's sad when you sing, but it is pretty.
What is it?
About the 2 boys, the 2 brothers in the Civil War. Do you remember that one? I'll sing another one. That's just anything.
Let me think a minute.
Okay.
Is that recorder on?
Yeah, you want me to? Oh, don't worry about it.
So turn it off while I
Okay,
get.
go ahead. Oh, well, that's okay. That's okay. Don't worry about it. I know. You're
But
just
I don't
thinking
know
about
if I can
That's
remember
all right.
it or not.
It's all right. That doesn't make any difference. If I tell you why I don't like to do that, because I forget to turn it back on. That's my problem.
Oh,
I put it on pause and then I do nothing.
I'll turn it on. I'll see if I can get it.
Okay.
Where are you going, my pretty fair miss? Where are you going, my honey? She answered me most modestly, I'm on an errand for my old mammy. Sing hoo, oh, ray, sing hoo, all right. Sing hoo, oh, rattle, dandy. May I walk with you, my pretty fair miss? May I walk with you, my honey? She answered me most modestly, I'll walk with anybody. Sing hoo, oh, ray, sing hoo, all right. Sing hoo, oh, rattle, dandy. They hadn't gone very few days.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Okay.
It wasn't but a very few days till this young man went a-courting. He hadn't said but a very few words till the old lady overheard him. Sing hoo, oh, ray, sing hoo, oh, right. Sing hoo, oh, rattle, dandy. She shoved the broom all in the fire to make a light to find him. This young man jumped up and popped his heels and bade his legs defend him. Sing hoo, oh, ray, sing hoo, oh, right. Sing hoo, oh, rattle, dandy. It's fare you well, my pretty fair miss. Fare you well, my honey. It's when will you be back again to be chased by my old mammy? Sing hoo, oh, rise, sing hoo, oh, rattle, dandy. It's fare you well, my pretty fair miss. Oh, fare you well, my honey. I'll have the girl I love the best in spite of her darned old man. Sing hoo, oh, sing hoo, oh, rise, sing hoo, oh, rattle, dandy.
That's a good one there. That is. Well, listen, I am going to go and let you.
My older sister knew everything that was going around the neighborhood. Between my dad singing these old ballads, my sister learned everything that was going on. Anything new, she learned it, brother. And we had neighborhood schools and churches, and we learned a lot of different songs in the Sunday schools and churches, and in the grade schools, they had music classes in the grade schools, music classes in the high schools, and our Richie Robertson came over from. He used to have. He came over from
Scotland.
From Scotland, but I understand he had a. He had huge singing groups over on the mainland of Europe. And then he had singing groups different places. And when he came over, he landed in New York, I think, and some Springfield businessmen, I think it was 3 of them, I'm not sure, but Springfield businessmen heard he was in New York, and they went up and brought him to Springfield.
He was still there when I started high school.
They gave him
he retired.
They promised him a job, and they got him down here.
He did a lot here, didn't he?
Oh, I had him. Did you have him?
No. I'm trying to think if he.
Our Richie Robertson.
I think he retired about the time in the 40s when I was in high school there. Well, when your boys were there, was he still there? You remember when your boys were there? Because see, we were all there at the same time. I can't remember. I knew him. I knew who he was, and I think he.
I'll tell you, he was.
Was he organized the Kildy Girls and
he organized
the band and everything, the orchestra.
The first Boy Scout band in America, in the United States.
Yeah, big one too, big one.
Yeah, it became the biggest Boy Scout band in the United States. Oh, and when I was at Dallas at the folk festival,
Mm-hmm.
I was supposed to sing on the radio, I think, one morning. So I went over to get my bearings so I could find the room where the microphones were, and so I was looking around. It wasn't in use at that particular time. That particular room wasn't. And I opened the door on the west side of the room while I was by myself, just scouting around, just learning my way around the radio studio. Opened the door on the west side of the room, and guess who I saw? R. Richard Robertson.
Well,
how's that for a coincidence?
That would be.
And he was down there with a bunch of the Boy Scout band.
Well, sometime after this is all over, do you have any newspaper clippings that you saved and stuff from these different folk
I
festivals?
don't think I had any chance to save any newspaper clippings.
If you find any, sometime when you're looking through your stuff, if you find these things, let me have them, and I'll organize them and copy them and make you a nice, like I did here. See how I ring?
Oh yeah.
See, I can enlarge and reduce these things, and I'll make me a copy for my library too. Is what I mean.
I used to make photograph
Yeah.
enlargements.
Well, we can do them as xerography now. See, we can do them just like that.
With what?
Xerox. See, so if you ever find this stuff, or gather it together,
I
it'd be
used
nice
to
have for you to leave for your family.
You know, while I was fooling with I could copy a snapshot and make 8 by 10s
Yeah.
or anything. So there was a little girl while Robert was in high school, there was a little girl brought a snapshot of the west section of Springfield High School. And that's all there was there.
Yeah.
And there was, the main door was facing west, facing Jefferson, and there wasn't any entrance on the south side. The main door was facing Jefferson, and Jefferson wasn't paved, and there was a horse and buggy out in front with the curtains up, and from the angle, I'd say the picture was taken from the southwest corner with the camera.
See, when I
Now
remember, of course, the auditorium was
and
even
Jefferson
backstage.
wasn't even paved. How's that for an interesting picture?
That is.
Back in horse and buggy
Yeah,
days.
yeah.
And I copied that, and when Robert took it back, he had an 8 by 10 enlargement for that little girl.
Well, that's good. That's good. Yeah. Listen, I'm going to have to get on.
Whenever I'd get set up, why,
Yeah.
sometimes I'd make several 8 by 10s.
If you ever find all that stuff, well, let me know if you want to, and I'll get it kind of organized for you so it'll be in kind of a book form, and because you need to have this stuff to give to some of your family so they'll know all these things, just like this folk festival stuff. Now I made some more copies, so you keep that.
Okay,
You keep
did.
that, and I made another after. At the time I gave you, that only has
That's
2.
turned off now, isn't it?
Well, it's going. That's okay. What?
Oh, I just want to tell
Yeah, go
this
ahead. Sorry.
little family history.
Yeah.
When my father ran a grocery store till he was past retirement age, and then he came and stayed with us. It's Benjamin Franklin Rice, and finally the health failed, and it was beginning to fail, and he had some property over on Rogers, 450-foot lots, 190 feet long on the northwest corner of Calhoun and Rogers, and he had 120 acres down Stone County, 40 and a 40 and a 40 angle shape, and he had some other property. So when his health began to fail, he talked to me one day, and he was wonder, worrying about after he passed on about the, you know, his children, his descendants fighting over his property. And he hardly ever consoled me, almost never. Benjamin Franklin.
Yeah.
But he knew his time was getting short, so. And I said, the way to do that is just sell everything and spend the money. But what he did, so he sold everything, so that there wasn't any fighting over his property.
Yeah, that's very good. That's
Well, that's one way.
Yeah.
And so one evening, that's turned off in
Yeah, very natural.
pretty well, and I learned to play a French harp, and
You remember what you learned on the fiddle? You remember the tunes you learned? Did you ever play for dance, or you just play around by yourself?
yeah,
Just
played
play-
around by
yeah,
myself.
That's the way I did for years and years, same thing.
And I learned to play a French harp, and I
Yeah.
learned to play an ocarina,
Yeah,
and I in the summertime I'd play that outside, and they could hear it.
yeah.
They could hear it for a block or two on a clear night.
You're still going. Could you sing one more for me? Or is it too late now for you?
No, it's not turned on, is it?
Yeah, it is, but no, go ahead. I just
Well,
believe because I just...
Let me think.
Okay,
Turn
you
it
go
on.
ahead and think. Sing those two verses. Just sing those.
Oh, the frog went a courting and he did ride with a big dig buttermilk time. Oh, sword and pistol by his side with a big dig buttermilk time. Oh, time and hero, old hero, time and oh, string strum a little roller bobber rig dig buttermilk time. Oh, he rode till he got to Miss Mouse's door with a big dig buttermilk time. Oh, he knocked so loud that he made it roar with a rig dig buttermilk time. Oh, time and he rode old hero, time and oh, string strum a little roller bobber rig dig buttermilk time. Oh, then Miss Mousie says come in with a big dig buttermilk time. Oh, the way they courted was a sin with a rig dig buttermilk time. Oh, time and he rode old hero, time and oh, string strum a little roller bobber rig dig buttermilk time. Oh.
That's good. I am going to have to go now. Well, thank you.
And
That was...
I didn't think of that third verse, first verse.
Well, as you started saying...
See, that's why I need this title.
I'll get you... Okay, I think
While I
Charles...
still got some memory left, I want to get this down.
I'm thinking that after he was here and he went back, but Charles sent me, I'm thinking a transcription of the words that you sang, and if I find that, I'll copy it. I have to see what I've got, but I've got a packet.
I'll tell you what I can do, and I don't forget it. If I don't know a tune, I will remember that exactly, the time, not perfect,
Yeah.
and I don't forget it.
Well, you have a tremendous memory still, even though you
Well,
have trouble now. You say,
on remembering tunes.
yeah, yeah. Well, listen,
I'll remember the
you
tunes better than I do the words.
Yeah.
I'll never forget the tune. If I
Yeah.
like it, I'll hum it and whistle it, and I'll get that hammered into
Yeah.
my skull to where I can't forget it.
Yeah, yeah. Listen, I'd love to stay and pump you some more here, but I'm going to have to be